Kelly Bear here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I am continuing on the Neopagan November challenge set by the Sunshine State Witch, and I am working through days 16, 17 and 18 today. And the first prompt is power, which I haven't really thought much about, so I'm just going to be riffing. So I guess a couple of things are maybe coming to mind. The first one, you know, I don't want to go into the idea of like power and force and politics and that kind of thing. I'm going to try and keep it more just sort of specifically witchy and magical, because that's what this particular sort of challenge is about. Although I usually can be found ranting about such things to those that will listen. But yeah, I'm going to keep it a little bit more small scale, because I'm trying to keep these short as well. And once I go on a rant, it's hard to stop. But yeah, I think power, when it comes to magic and witchcraft, lies where people, in belief, right, in a way, to a certain extent. I don't think it's 100% belief, but I think, you know, I've often heard that the best way to break a curse or to throw off a curse is to laugh it off, because to disbelieve, to not give power to such a thing breaks it or weakens it. There's the whole sending power back, right? You're sending power back to someone if they are trying to give you the evil eye. It's reversing power. Power, the idea of power and being a sovereign being as a witch is something that has also been on my mind a lot, because a really lovely amazing woman in the tarot community had said to me a couple of years ago now, because I'm a chaos goblin, stuff just seems, I can't seem to catch a break. I'm not going to go into it, but things have been rough. I mean, things have been rough for a lot of us over the last like 2 or 3 years, right? But there's been like this whole extra layer of roughness alongside the sort of general global roughness. And my friend said things will be, she's very astute, smart woman, and she said, you know, things will start to fall into place, or things will at least get better for you once you step into your own power, once you step into your personal power. And I hear that in my head so much. I mean, I hear it in her voice, even though it was in a written message, it was in a DM or something, but I can hear her voice saying it. And yeah, so especially this year, I've tried a little bit more to sort of keep that in mind. I don't think I've been succeeding, but I think the more I sort of consciously keep bringing it to my mind, the more it's sort of sinking in. So yeah, personal power, and setting boundaries as well, right? Setting boundaries. If you work in a group environment, as a pagan, if you have a coven, if you're a witch or a pagan, or if you're Wiccan or what have you, and boundaries are important, right? So people don't abuse their power. That's also been a huge issue in the pagan community. So yeah, there's lots to dig into, but I feel like I can't drill down into any of them because I'm trying to keep this short. But they're the things that sort of have come up for me that are sort of pagan-y, witchy, adjacent around power. And I guess we put in our power when we're activating a spell, using a spell, doing spell work. Depending on what model that you use, are you using the psychological model, the energetic model, the spirit model? For me, I feel nowadays I don't so much. I feel like I'm affecting myself and using power on a sort of on a psychological level. There's something going on here. I'm sort of affecting my, you know, my brain. But I also feel like there's this sort of energetic side to it, sort of energetic power, and then spirit work, so the spirit model, and not so much deity, but as in like other beings of the field, and they bring their own specific power to the working as well. So it's almost like different types of power coalescing to create this one mega power ball, I don't know, for a spell. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. That's what's coming to mind, and I'm going to leave it at that because that's about 5 minutes, and I think that's quite a nice time for, you know, without going too long on one topic. So the next one is cultural influences. I've spoken about this in another tag that I've done, the Trad Witch tag by Nomqua. If you're interested in that video, you can sort of scooch back on my uploads, and I really recommend you check out Nomqua's original video, because it's really good, and it's really insightful and really thoughtful. She did a really good job on that. It's a really great tag. But I spoke a lot about how the way that I practice now is very sort of stripped back, bare bones. It doesn't really have any specific framework, any specific sort of, yeah, thing that it's hanging on. But the things that I find myself interested in as my own heritage, and I've always been interested in, is Irish, Scottish, and English magic, and English, Scottish, and Irish mythology, Welsh mythology as well. Yeah, these isles here that I live in, I find endlessly fascinating. So I don't know if it so much influences me. I guess I was talking about in a previous video about my heritage and how the Catholicism has started to sort of become something I'm interested in again, not in the sense of being a Catholic, but in the sense of Catholic folk magic, which actively usually is sort of rejects traditional hierarchical Catholicism and does it as kind of its own thing. So yeah, I'm interested in loads of other frameworks and magical systems. Although I'm not a ceremonial magician or grimoiric magician or sorcerer, I really enjoy learning about the grimoires and the Goetia and things like that. But I don't know. I'm not going to say never, because never say never. But I haven't and currently don't use that kind of magic. It's not how I practice it, but I like learning about it. I find yeah, what little I've mostly via podcasts have learnt about things like hoodoo and voodoo and rootwork and conjure and curandismo and lukumi and brujeria. Yeah, really interesting. The sort of Norse mythology. There's loads of really interesting mythologies. You know, the classics, Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, but they don't really influence, well, not at least consciously, if they don't influence my practice. I just really enjoy learning about them, reading about them, or listening about them. But yeah, I'd say just my own bog standard. For me, I guess it's bog standard because I'm mired in it. But yeah, I grew up listening to spooky stories from my grandmother, telling me about growing up in Ireland and about the Sidhe and how she's seen ghosts and how she's heard the banshee on several occasions and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that's really ingrained in me, and definitely had an effect on me growing up. So yeah, so that's the second prompt for today, and the third and final prompt for today is Earth. So we're working through the elements, and again, this is another one I haven't really thought about. I had answers for things that immediately popped into my head for water and for fire, but Earth is a tricky one. I think Earth gets a bad rap, not in a bad rap. Earth gets ignored a little bit because, you know, with air, you can think of things like breathwork and incense smoke, and then you've got fire, which is really exciting because setting shit on fire is exciting. Burning stuff, candles are fun, and even water can be quite fun because you can be doing your moon water and your solar water and your holy water and chalice well water, all sorts of waters. I feel it in my waters, that's a saying. but yeah, fire. Earth. I think also because I'm not a huge user of crystals. It's not something I'm hugely that I think about sort of in a physical sense with regards to outward things like crystals or stones or actual earth. I don't have a garden here where I live, unfortunately. I'd love. I've tried growing things in this flat. I have a bit of a black thumb, which breaks my heart. So for me, I tend to forage or buy in for my herbs. And so yeah, it's so for me, earth. I think what's coming to mind as I'm sort of riffing and talking this out is grounding and centering, and that is something that I sometimes lose. What's the word? Lose. Not what's the word I'm looking for? That I lose touch with a little bit because I'm a very in my head. When I'm feeling okay, when I'm not feeling unwell, like most of us, when we don't feel well, we're not really usually our usual selves. But when I'm feeling sort of my usual self, I'm quite thinky. I overthink a lot, but I talk a lot as well, and I often sort my thoughts out as I talk. I'm not one for I ruminate a lot and I overthink on everything a lot. But as soon as I start talking, especially about something that is new to me, or a topic, or I'm riffing on prompts that I haven't thought about too much, I will sort my thoughts out as I talk. I'm speaking it out. And I'm very passionate and creative. So I have a sort of this like fiery airiness about myself. This is what people have told me. Which is very, air, oxygen helps fuel fire, and it's very but sometimes I just need to calm my tits, chill, relax, especially having energy limiting chronic illnesses. I need to get better. Even after over a decade of dealing with these issues, I still struggle with like just taking it down a notch so that I don't burn out. And I'm kind of almost doing that right now, with the sense that I'm batch filming all these videos, partly because I'm worried that I might not be able to finish the challenge, and I really want to, because I might crash. But by the same token, by possibly if I go too far and push myself with filming, I might end up actually causing the crash. So that's why I'm capping it at 3 videos, 3 prompts each for 3 videos, and then done. I'm leaving it at that, and then I've got a few in the bank then that I can put up. So yeah, it can be difficult depending on what's going on in my life to sort of really settle down, and I've always struggled to sleep, and if I get out of a meditation routine and a breathwork routine, it can sometimes take me quite a while to sort of really dig down back into that, because and I know I'm not alone in that. Loads of people really struggle with stilling the mind, but I find that if I'm taking the time to ground and center first, that helps. And it's one of those things where I will go through phases of doing regularly, then maybe I'll go through phases of not doing at all, then I might go through a phase of doing it really sporadically, and it's just the way things are. At the moment I'm in a sort of a sporadic kind of phase with it, but yeah, and I think that's what I think of when I think of earth. Grounding and centering, and there's loads of ways you can do that, and there's loads of ways that I have done it over the years. The first way that I learned to do that was I think it was in Teen Witch by Silver Raven Wolf, where you sort of imagine yourself being a tree. It's either in that book or To Ride a Silver Broomstick, I can't remember. But you imagine yourself as a tree, and you imagine all your roots going down into the ground, into the earth, and then you imagine your arms, you put your arms up, you stand with your arms up, and you imagine your arms becoming branches, and then you can pull energy up and energy down into your center, and that's where you start to do your centering, your grounding and your centering. But the loads of people have put in, there's loads of other versions of that, even that tree one, but yeah, that was the first one that I ever learned, and it's always stuck with me, and it's one that I do go back to often. But there's loads of different ways out there. Other grounding and centering exercises are available. How do you ground and center? I find it interesting, the different ways people practice what's like sort of the basics of sort of witchcraft and energetic work and stuff like that. How people put up protective spheres and how they imagine that, how people ground and center, how people sort of what kind of breathwork exercises do people like doing. What do they find most useful for getting them into a certain space? How do people drop into trance? That kind of thing. Oh, anyway, I could talk for ages about this. It's really exciting. I'm really enjoying this challenge, because my channel has been so very much tarot. There's been a couple of witchy things, a little bit of herbalism, a little bit of art stuff, but yeah, I don't often talk about the witchy stuff because I can be a bit sort of cagey about it. But these prompts are so sort of open, there's not really, it's just quite nice to just liberating to just talk about it. So yeah, anyway, I think I'll leave it at that for today. That's the current 3 prompts, and yeah, I think I'm done also filming batch filming for the day. So the next video I'll probably, oh excuse me, yeah, I definitely need to go make some lunch. It's 1:15. Oh my god. Yeah, I definitely need to go have some food. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've been enjoying watching other people's responses to this challenge. There's some really creative, interesting ways of tackling this, and so many people have different points. It's just really fascinating to see how these prompts just make people's brains go in different directions and what their responses are like. It's so much fun. So I'm really enjoying that. So go check out, have at it. There's loads of stuff out there already, so yeah, have fun with it. And yeah, thank you, keep yourself safe, and I'll see you in the next one maybe. Hey, ciao.